When I was 16 years old, my family bought a pool table. I was so excited about this pool table. But I quickly discovered that I didn't have a lot of natural talent at the game of pool. My brother wiped the floor with me. It was a no contest. He clearly had a greater natural flair for the game of pool. But man, was I determined to learn to play properly. So I got hold of a book, Joe Davis's book on how to play snooker. And I studied this thing and practiced for many hours to implement it. He showed you how to have your bridge hand and which technique to have, which stance, how your feet should be, how your weight should be balanced. And I practiced these techniques. And gradually, I started to get better at the game of pool. It probably took about a year before I started to beat my brother. And then he decided that he didn't like playing pool anymore. He just wanted to play for fun. I was trying to become as skilled at the game as my limited ability would allow me. You see, if you learn the techniques and you practice and apply them, you can often become really good at something, even if it feels initially like your ceiling is very low. There are techniques for skillfully reading journal articles, and you're going to learn those techniques. It will take some perspiration to put them into practice. It'll be a little tedious initially, but if you push through the initial frustration, if you apply the things I'm about to tell you, the simple technique for reading a journal article, you will soon find that you can read them like an expert. So there's really only two stages to reading a journal article well. Number one is read the entire article in one sitting with a highlighter pen in hand. It might, of course, be an electronic highlighter pen. And as you read, you want to highlight two things. Number one, you want to highlight the central argument of the article. What is the disputable truth claim that this journal article makes? Try and find it and try and flag it by highlighting it. So highlighting doesn't help you to remember anything, by the way. You're highlighting because you plan to come back to the sections that you've highlighted in order to summarize the gist of the article. So you highlight the disputable truth claim. And then as you read, you want to highlight the main supporting ideas, arguments, or evidence. What are the key things that the author uses to try and persuade you that their truth claim is coherent and correct? So read the whole article, highlight the central argument, the main truth claim being made, and the key arguments or pieces of evidence, big ideas that support it. That's stage one. Stage two is to make notes about the article in three categories. The first thing you should do is you should state the thesis of the article in one sentence. You want to state the thesis of the article in one sentence. So the thesis here is essentially the disputable truth claim. What is the chief claim that the authors are making and trying to defend? Sometimes they will tell you very clearly. They'll say things like, while others argue that, we contend. And there you've got their truth claim. Often they won't, though. Many times you will have to infer from reading the article, you'll have to abstract that central truth claim. You want to do that, and you want to state it as the thesis of the article in one clear sentence. The second stage of reading it is interpretation. You want to summarize the key supporting ideas, arguments, and evidence from the author's viewpoint. So you're trying to articulate how they make their case for the truth claim, which, remember, you've already stated as the thesis of the article. So yeah, you are making notes about the content that is interesting or convincing, and you want to focus on the chief points that support the claim. And then thirdly, you want to engage in criticism. So firstly is thesis, secondly, interpretation, thirdly, criticism. Yeah, you want to reflect on the significance of the article for your own interests, your viewpoint, your research, your context, whatever your reason is for reading the article, this is the point at which you want to ask, okay, how does this relate to me? And yeah, there are two key components again. One, you want to reflect on the strength of the argument. In other words, how convincingly did the authors make their case for their truth claim? And secondly, you want to reflect on the significance of the argument. In other words, what are its implications for my world, my context, my church, my research, whatever it is that brings you to the reading of this particular article? So a really simple strategy, but if you apply this, you will rapidly become an expert reader of journal articles. Remember, there's two steps. One, read the whole article and try and highlight the central argument, the disputable truth claim, and the key supporting points. And then once you've done that, you want to come back and recircle to the article, and you want to make notes. You want to make notes about three things. Number one, the thesis of the article. What is the disputable truth claim that's being championed here? Stated in one sentence. Secondly, you want to make notes about the interpretation of the article. You want to outline how the authors make their case. What are their key points of evidence and argument, the big ideas. And then and only then do you engage in the third step, which is criticism, reflecting on the significance of the article. And there you're engaging in two things: how strong is the argument and how significant is the argument for the real world in which you live.